Here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Okay, now for the lightning round.
I'm so good at lightning rounds. That's from Friends. It's my favorite show.
20 seconds on the clock starts now. Who is the captain of the USS Enterprise?
Oh, crap. Is it, Captain Stubing? No, Morgan? Crunch?
Next question. Which superhero is Tony Stark?
Stark. Did Game of Thrones have superheroes? I only watched 2 episodes.
What planet were Luke and Leia born on?
Planet Fitness?
Oh, time's up. Sorry. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hey everybody, Mandy Kaplan here. Please check out my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, where each week an incredible guest tries to baptize this mainstream mom into the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and all things nerdy. Available wherever you podcast.
That's our show, folks.
Wait. I just thought of it. Padme Amidala gave birth to her twins Luke and Leia on Polis Massa. No, that's dumb. Is it Planet Hollywood?
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Generations podcast. Yeah.
Yay.
Good to see you guys. Today I am joined by long time no see, Alex Corman. How are you, sir?
I'm Tanner. I was on a beach for a while. I feel great.
Good. Matthew is not joining us today. They have a different commitment they've got to be to. Very busy person.
It's just the kids today.
Yep. Oh yeah, we were told to give you a disclaimer. Let's see. From Matthew. To my older listeners, please have patience with the children. They are highly intelligent, highly informed, but just highly excitable. I promise you they are worth listening to, and I will
But I will edit out the high volume parts when they get really excited. We are coming to you live from devastated former Yord hater and 3-hole puncher. If that gives you any indication of where this podcast will be going.
God. Okay. So you were gone the last 2 weeks.
I was gone.
Any
I was watching.
recap? Anything you want to say about last episode? I mean, 3-hole puncher is pretty savage. It's a pretty bold way for you to start, just by naming yourself that. Please explain your screen name to all of our audio listeners who cannot see.
Well, my screen name, I chose a 3-hole puncher because, unfortunately, one of my favorite characters in the show, Jackie, was indeed killed by 3 holes to the body from Darth Back Muscles, Darth Teeth, however you want to name this mysterious Sith man. And while all I want to say about the previous episode was I thought that was one of the greatest lightsaber choreographed battles that I had ever seen in my life. I was just blown away by that. But the 3-hole punch was tough, but
it was devastating.
It was devastating. It was dark, and I like how the show was dark. And I think that leads really well into this week's episode, where we got some of the continuations of that, like everything from seeing their corpses again, which is a little bit of a jump scare.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. It's like, oh, Kofar, there's Jackie's dead, cold eyes staring into the camera. I was like, dear God, where is this going?
Yeah, it was dark. And then you have, the conversations were dark. It just felt very like the whole episode had this very like tinge of darkness and sadness and, I don't know, corruption hanging over it. So I'm very excited to discuss it at full, but I will say that I am overall digging the dark, twisty vibes of the show.
I'm going to be so for real with you right now. I had fully forgotten that this was supposed to be like a dark show until last week. And so I'm watching it with my sweet parents who love comedy shows and love Happy Mandalorian Star Wars. And Jackie gets 3-hole punched. And I felt like the shittiest child in the world.
And then Yord got freaking his neck snapped 30 seconds later.
Literally full 360 L rotation. It was absolutely brutal. And I felt so bad for my poor parents. So going into this week, they were really nervous and it just continued to be dark, but at least a little less gory. So I appreciated that. But yeah, we're really getting into the depths of it. So where do we want to start?
I think I'll start at the beginning of the episode. Let's touch on why do you think, and maybe full disclosure, I just got back on Monday, so I have not listened to any recordings or anything. I have not heard from Erin or Matthew. Why do you think May switched places with Osha? Did you all discuss this last time?
Yeah, I think we talked over it a little bit, but I'd love to like converse with you about it. I don't know. I think last week I was fully on the board of, or on the side of, she is impersonating Osha to get on a ship so she can get the hell off this planet, and then she's going to kill Soul because he's the last one left. And even though, yes, her master is the one who told her to kill a Jedi without a weapon, these 4 Jedi were still her targets, it was still her revenge. So I thought that's what it was about, but then kind of in this episode we see it start to shift, and I'm more thinking she wants to almost like make Saul say it. But
Yeah,
what did you feel about it?
that's how I was kind of interpreting it. It's interesting. As I watched this episode, she was resetting the droid. She was like checking the ship. She actually, it felt like she wanted the ship to reach Coruscant. Like she tried to respond to the Jedi when they came to rescue the 2 of them. I think that May eventually wanted to kill Soul. I do still believe that. But I
Okay.
also believe that she was kind of playing this waiting game of, I want to get as much info as I can. Because I think at the end of the day, May still has those deep scars and wants to know, like, why did Osha leave me? And the best way to learn that is to go to the Jedi Temple, to see the Jedi she's been around, to get to know these individuals and kind of play that covert op as long as possible. And then at least at that point, she is in Coruscant in the temple. She can kill Soul. She can kill dude. She can kill anyone she wants. So like I like to think she was trying to do that intel gathering portion of things, both because she was curious, and also I think because she wanted answers. It's been decades. I still think we're gonna get that like flashback to the original like scene where her family was killed and get more
I'm hoping.
information, because I think that will like give more credence to like her desire to like seek it out. I mean, like she was asking Soul to like admit it basically point blank. But I'm so curious what Soul has to say to her, because once he captures her, he's like, I have thought in my head what I'm going to say to you, and he said it angry, but like
Very angry.
I'm like, I would think he'd sound remorseful if he's the one that did the killing, but I don't know. I'm very, very, very curious what actually happened that night.
Me too. It's driving me crazy. I mean, it's almost like that's the whole mystery and point of the show. What?
Yeah, that's the mystery.
It's driving me crazy though. I can't handle it. It was such an interesting reaction from Soul.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I think the 3 of us podcast hosts, I'm including Matthew because we talked for the last 2 weeks, but I think we would all say that there's a possibility that Soul is flirting with the dark side or some non-Jedi things.
Possibility.
Okay, I was just trying to be nice because Matthew's not here and I didn't
I
want to put
think it
words in
is
their mouth, but
very much blatant in front of us that he's been flirting with the dark side, or that he, at the very least, maybe he had it contained before Osha left the order. But once Osha left, I feel like that man fractured at some level, and it's in there because like you
yes.
see him like even from episode 1, like talking about emotions that even like a Padawan and Jackie saying are forbidden, and like he feels very Anakin, not like to the level of Anakin, but very like cavalier with the rules.
Oh, totally.
Which seemed fun to us early on, but maybe it's not so fun.
Which is
Maybe it's more
exactly how it
fun.
went with Anakin.
Maybe it's more fun depending, from a certain point of view.
Um Yeah, I don't know. It was so interesting to see because now that he's around May, like there is no one of the Jedi or of the Republic that he has to act for, you know? So before it's like, yeah, he's cavalier with the rules, he like maybe is extra emotional. But no, he's straight up like, he's fucking mad.
I mean, he looks
He's
a little
pissed.
broken also on the ship.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, how did you like? I was interpreting him as being like really distraught. Like she kept saying, like May kept kind of teasing him, almost being like, "We see what we want to see when we're like really struggling." And I'm because that's when he's still, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Do you think he thought she was really Osha the whole time, or was just playing along?
Once they were on the ship, I would be shocked if he thought it was still Osha.
I mean, I don't know. Like it
It's
felt
just
like
I don't know. It's hard. He did well. The way he hugged her, like, was kind of weird. But also maybe he was just messing with her.
But also there was the. I mean, what's the furry man's name? Little furry guy. I love that furry guy. Basil. It was not until Basil pulls up, that little fucker. Basil pulls up to inform Soul by going, and Soul's like, "I understand, thank you."
I understand.
And just goes and immediately incapacitates May.
That's so funny. That is one of the notes I wrote is just Basil is up to something, but I have no idea what. Because like the first 20 minutes of the episode, my guy was just like running around, and then he saw May and he was like trying to square up, and she was like, "What the hell?"
I think he could smell that it wasn't Osha, and he was like,
"Oh,
he
I
can't
agree."
speak basic, so he's just like,
Yeah.
and just attacks
her. Rest in peace, Pip. First and foremost.
I like to believe if C-3PO can be brought back from the brink by R2-D2, that Osha has a way to bring Pip back from the brink.
I mean, assuming Osha comes back.
Assuming.
Assuming.
Actually, can we? Do you have more to say on Soul and May, or can I ask a kind of a turning chapter question here?
We can move on for now. We can circle back.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So in the same vein, though, why does Darth Back Muscles? Why does he save Osha? Do you think? Like he has her, he knows immediately it's not May.
Yeah.
Like why not end her? Like why do you think he? I like to think he thinks that Osha is what May couldn't be, and like is the potential for a true acolyte.
Yeah, no, exactly. He kept her because he still wanted a pupil. And depending on their origins, and if he knows their origins, they might be two very strong Force users. Just Osha isn't in tune with it right now. And he would know that her sister is going to be as powerful as her. So yeah, I think he just is like, yeah, a second chance, basically.
Yeah.
To fix what he did wrong. And also he saw more up close how the Jedi were. He said to May when Jackie was fighting him, May, you can learn something from this Padawan. She's loyal. And so like, I think he's seeing, now we don't know his history. He may or may not have already been a part of the Jedi, whatever. We'll get into that. But it's like seeing firsthand, this is how Soul's Padawan like responds to him. And here is Soul's Padawan that's been kicked to the curb and like hurt. And here's what I think I can do now.
It's very interesting because I see Osha's path as similar to Ahsoka's path in that, you know, she chose to leave the order, but it was more that she was kind of pushed out. But Ahsoka handled it very differently than I think Osha. Well, actually, you know, they both kind of became kind of rogue runners for a little bit.
They were just like, let's go be a mechanic.
Yeah, pretty much they both were like, mechanics! That's
what do you do?
What do you do when you leave the Jedi Order? Become a mechanic. That's the backup career for all Jedi.
Grab a wrench.
God. But yeah, I think that like she seems very impressionable because I think she's still like harboring a lot of anger and resentment towards whatever happened. And we have 2 episodes left to get, you know, some more flashbacks, understand a little bit more, and get some insight. Also, if fucking Yoda does not make a cameo appearance, and Kiadi Mundi did, I will riot in the final episode recap of this podcast for the Acolyte. Just so our listeners know. But I don't know. I think that I do also think, to your point when you said we don't know if he was a Jedi. I mean, he didn't. We don't know for sure, but it seemed to be an insinuation, kind of directly, that his Jedi Master turned on him, and he's the one that did that damage on his back. Now, We don't know if, this guy went Asajj Ventress after his master, or after he saw something and like just started killing people, and like, or like if the Jedi went Luke Skywalker, like so Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, and like saw darkness in him before it had come to fruition and chose to get ready to attack. Sorry, I am bouncing across the trilogies right now.
That's dark.
I mean, if Luke Skywalker, the prodigal son, can do it, why can't some
You're right.
random
You're
Jedi
right.
do it? So I mean, I don't know. It feels like this individual, this Sith individual, was created in a very, like, he genuinely believes like in what he's doing. It's not like, Matthew. I want to bring in Matthew's point here. Matthew wanted us to mention that the conversations between Osha and, quote, Darth Backmuscles are some of the best we've seen in Star Wars, and they really represent a shift from Sith as, quote, mustache twirling power hungry to terrifyingly believable villains. And they went on to say that, like, the way he is slowly seducing her, his approach towards the dark side, is very different from what we've seen before. And I agree with that, in that, like, he genuinely, like, Palpatine was all about power, power, power. And so are most of the Sith, if they want power. But he seems like genuinely, like, almost kind of like the Padawans that were cast aside in Darth Maul and Dooku and Ventress. Like, they believed in, like, that they were wronged, or that something was wrong with the system, and they almost had good intentions of like wanting to rectify it or remedy it, and they wanted freedom more than anything. The Sith love their freedom. I don't know, do you have thoughts on it while I look up the Sith code to make a point?
About just like whether or not he's Sith, or how far to the Sith he is.
Is he Sith? Like, what's your, what are your thoughts on their conversations, like his motivations, just like thoughts on Darth Backmuscles.
We are just full of words today. So I kind of agree with Matthew about, it's just a lot more believable, and it's a lot more interesting than a lot of stuff we've seen. Because even, you and I know, we're prequel lovers. We know and understand the semantics of Palpatine's plan. However, to people who just watch the movies and don't watch the Clone Wars and don't read any extended universe, which is perfectly fine, and a lot of people, you're not going to understand Palpatine's plan in the way that we do. And that's okay. But I feel like this is showing and actually explaining so much deeper. And like you said, it's not about, I'm going to invade the Republic and take over the Jedi. Every time they talk about him killing, he says, I killed those who threatened my existence, or I killed those who say that I cannot exist. It's never that I hate them, so I kill them. Like,
he's very level-headed. He's very Dooku-esque level-headed, like very just idealistic.
Yeah, like the scary calm.
Yeah, that's what I like about him. He's like you don't really know like his true thoughts or motivations at any point.
No, it's so good.
And like I looked up the Sith Creed.
Okay,
for our viewers and our listeners, and there's no viewers unless you're watching us right now. So for our listeners, the Sith Creed is, quote, peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me. Point of me reading that is that, like, I think at the core of the concept of the true Sith is that they want power, but they want freedom to do whatever they want. Like, Palpatine wanted power, but he even remarks, like, in the Clone Wars, I can think of the line in my head, like, what's the point of all this when the whims of one senator can change everything? And it's him in the Clone Wars basically bitching to Masamita about Padme changing something he was trying to do. Dude, honestly, you could just change the like, explain Star Wars in 2 lines. Fucking Anakin, fucking Padme. But I feel like Palpatine wanted power, but he also wanted the freedom to do whatever the hell he wanted. Anakin wanted the freedom to do whatever he wanted. Maul wanted the freedom. Like, they all want the freedom to do what they want. They want to release their chains. Now, their idea of freedom is twisted and dark, but it feels
Mhm.
like this guy truly, like, he wants freedom. He if you notice, he was not going out and seeking to kill Jedi until May was like, I'm gonna turn on, I'm gonna turn on my master. He was enabling her, but he wasn't the
Mhm.
one going out and doing the act. So it feels like he's much more of an idealistic Sith. I don't know. Do you have more thoughts on it? He's so interesting to me.
It's almost like he seems like this isn't quite right, but almost like a Boy Scout Sith, like, just very by the books, very much about his rules, and, like, kinda takes pride in it almost. Like, it's like Yord, but without the ego almost, but for the Sith and with a lot more trauma. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he kinda, like, has his rules that he lives by, and he's very, like, set on that.
No, I mean that makes sense. It was interesting too that based on what you're saying, like he brought up like, oh, she's like, what did you want with me? He's like, I wanted a true, like, I wanted to be a pair. What was the exact quote? Did you write it down? You always write quotes down.
I didn't write that quote
Oh,
down.
that's okay. But he basically, like, he references like, I want to be like the I want to be the true rule of two. Like he mentions the rule of two basically, like
Mhm.
the idea that the Sith are at their strongest when there's a master and an apprentice, and um he point blank says like, I wanted a true second, like I wanted a partner.
I
And
remember what he said.
what is it?
He said, "I wanted the power of 2,"
There you
which
go.
is the
Thank you.
rhyme that May and Osha would say together. What?
That's actually kind of crazy. I didn't realize that together.
Yeah, it's the rhyme that Osha well, that mostly May would say to Osha, and it's also the Sith.
It is also the same, and like that shows more parallels between the witches and the Sith. Ooh, I love when Star
Mm.
Wars mirrors itself, which it does all the time, but I never get tired of it. Um, and that makes so much sense too, because like for her listeners who might not be aware of it, I'll just give a quick recap of the rule of two was put forth by Darth Bane, which was an ancient Sith, and the idea was that like in the old Republic there were thousands of Sith. They all struggled for power. There was a Sith Emperor. If you listen to our insane ramblings on the Revan episode,
Yep.
um, and when the Sith were basically pushed to the brink of extinction, Bane came up with the concept of the Sith are at their most powerful when there's two, one master, one apprentice, and eventually the apprentice goes to master, and that continues the cycle.
Mhm.
That's like the Sith way. And we were unsure if this guy was actually a Sith, but it seems like if he's mentioning the rule of two, it feels like it gives credence to him being a true bona fide Sith. Whether he had a master, whether he, maybe Plagueis was teaching him, or Plagueis' master was teaching him, and like he ran off, and like maybe it wasn't a Jedi master that tried to attack him, but a Sith master, and he
That's what I
escaped.
was thinking.
And that's why he kept saying like, I'm looking for an acolyte, not an apprentice, because maybe he wants to like break away but still maintain the rule of two. I don't know. He's trained in the Sith arts or the Jedi arts at some level.
Also, like, if the person who stabbed him in the back literally was a Sith master, that could explain why he said, "A Jedi like you might call me Sith." Because it's like, yeah, maybe I once was. Or like, yeah, that's the way that you can understand and comprehend my power, but that's no longer the path that I'm taking.
Yeah, I mean, Maul no longer classified himself as a Sith Lord, but still kind of was like, but I am still Sith.
Mhm.
Maz Kanata in episode 7 said that like the dark side, the Empire, the Sith, like it's kind of all different names for this dark side power.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Also, I changed my name for you
Yep, Alex is now Boy Scout Sith, so
because that was an incredible line.
thank you.
Um,
I did see or not see, but I have a few little quotes here between, May and nope, sorry, excuse me, Osha and Darth Chompy Teeth,
you did that
where
so fast. I'm sorry. Start over. I apologize.
no, it's okay. Yeah, so I just have a few quotes kind of from the conversations between Osha and Darth Chompy Teeth. So he says, oh, this is what it is. She comes up by the lake. She asks him, "Did you kill Soul?" And he says, "No."
Mm-hmm.
"Did you kill May?" "No." Interesting you ask about him first, though.
It's been so
And then
manipulative.
so manipulative. He goes, "He taught you the Jedi arts, but he's more than that. It's a special relationship between a master and apprentice." And that's how he kind of segues into like, that's what I'm looking for. And then kind of does this, well, there is another way to the Force. Below the consciousness are powerful emotions, anger, fear, loss, desire. Osha says, that's the path to the dark side. And he comes back with my favorite line, semantics.
He's very like, I wish Matthew was here to articulate it, because I can't articulate what I'm trying to say. Because he is so unique. He's like almost blasé about the rules. He like doesn't fit the mold of anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit the traditional Sith mold. He doesn't fit like an assassin mode. He's like a refined, attractive bum who also I mean, he's literally sauntering in front of her.
I mean, yeah.
I was thinking that like most of the people in the show are just hot. Like
super hot. The whole cast is on fire.
The whole cast is hot, like across the board. But
it's crazy.
He's probably the first hot Sith we've had. I guess Kylo, kind of. I don't know if Adam Driver is your thing, but
he's not a Sith.
Facts. He was trained by a Sith, though, on a technicality. But I don't know. I just think that like he's like blasé. He is like a bum, kind of, but also like super smart. Can like make poisons that are untraceable. Like he's a genius. Like he's so mysterious that I think Osha wants to know more. Is going to get sucked in by it.
So that brings me to my next question. How old do you think he is? Because by human standards, he looks like mid-30s, right?
Mid-30s.
You'd say, yeah.
You think he's not human?
He might be human, but not all humans live a normal human lifespan.
Are you referring to our Lord and Savior, Chief Palpatine?
I suppose. I mean, really, I'm talking about the Eternal Emperor from the Old Republic, but yeah, it's just he says something about, implying he used to be a Jedi. She says, "I've never heard of you." He goes, "It was a long time ago," and he reiterated it.
Honestly, Cortosis is brought in from the expanded universe into canon. We've seen a lot of things in the show bringing like EU concepts in. Maybe he is. I don't know about I mean, the Sith.
I don't think he is the Eternal Emperor.
No, I know, but I'm saying the Sith are obsessed with immortality. Like as a whole, they want to live forever. They want to expand their power. They're afraid of dying. Like that's always like the thing with the Sith. So like whether he's truly Sith or not, the concept of him being really, really old, he seems really wise for his age. But if he's lived this long, how many acolytes or how many apprentices has he gone through in that period?
And why is he so desperate to have one now?
Which curious. Also, no, you go.
I was just going to say that kind of brings us around to something else that Matthew brought up. Do you think he was actually planning to let Osha kill him, or did he have a backup plan? Because you just said Sith tend to be afraid of death, and we're saying if he's really old, maybe he's afraid of death.
He did show. I will say he did seem rattled when she ignited the lightsaber, like a little taken aback, a little bit. He was still very calm. But like very much, it reminded me of the vibes of Anakin confronting Palpatine. Like it's very like Sith to like have the high ground there and like play it cool. I don't think he would have actually let her kill him though.
No way.
Like
I say no way.
Like there's no chance. Like he just it's the classic Sith trap. Like do it.
Yeah. Do it. You have to play chicken.
You got to play chicken. Like Palpatine did it with
your apprentice
and Luke.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the
Okay, so
whole
then
strike me down thing. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
the whole strike me down thing.
I was just saying the whole strike me down, and your path will be complete. Like, I think you might have jumped the gun a little bit. Like, do it. You gotta reel her in a little bit before you go for the full pull there. Darth Teeth Backbone. Yo, what if the
Sure.
metal in his cortosis are all from Lightsaber Hill to Jedi he killed? That'd be crazy.
That would be
Sorry.
crazy. I don't feel like that's a thing, but if it
Okay,
is,
keep it
I
real.
will give you probably like $100 because that'd be a crazy pull.
You heard it
um,
here first, folks. $100 if that becomes canon. Lucasfilm, Filoni, help me out here.
it's too late for them to save you. So I would say let's move on and shift towards Vernestra and kind of the High Republic at the moment. What
Well,
did you think of the scenes we saw there?
just a transition. Do you think
Okay.
Vernestra is aware of his existence? Like who he is? Like if she saw his face, is she a species that would be old enough to have known him in the order?
Well, yes, because based on the fact that she's in the High Republic books 100 years earlier, she's okay. I don't know if you know this about her. She was the youngest Jedi to ever be knighted. She was 13 when she was knighted, and she got her first Padawan at 14. Like,
That's
she is a
sick.
fucking baddie.
And she looks super young in this, and that she said she's 100 years old.
Yeah, she has to be like pushing 120 at this point.
Okay, so very possible that homegirl like knows him if it was 100 years ago that he was in the order or something.
She could have more knowledge about like him as a specific person.
Or
That's like
maybe
something I
maybe this is where we get Yoda. Maybe they're like, Master Yoda, do you know about this man? And like he could provide the info about
the Oracle.
the Oracle Yoda. Yoda with his actual full head of hair. I will scream if I see Yoda with a real full head of hair in live action. Sorry, Matthew.
You know they're gonna cut that out. No one gets
Don't
to
cut
hear
it out,
that.
please. Let it ride. Let Yoda's free flowing locks roll in this podcast.
I would love that too. I would love to see Yoda with a head of hair. That being said, I'm not going to be pissed if he's not included as a cameo. But just Yoda with long hair in general, I would like to see. I would like to see Yoda rocking a ponytail. I think that would be a good style for him. But yeah, so I guess
To your question, the
I
scenes with her,
yes.
like, what do you think about that?
I can't tell. Because, I mean, she's obviously hiding something from the Jedi that she's traveling with, you know? It's, like, above their pay grade, you know? They weren't a part of the secret underneath the council meeting. Um,
The sub council.
the sub-council, the assistant to the council meeting.
The assistant to the council meeting. That's incredible.
Um,
Assistant to the regional chair of the council.
exactly,
Oh
that's
my god.
Vernestra's role. So she's obviously hiding things from the just knights that are with her. So, you know, when she said, "What does this look like to you?" He said, "A powerful Jedi has fallen." And she was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like," or, "I think you're right." I don't remember exactly what she said. But then he kinda said, "So Master Saul has fallen?" And she said something alluding to like, "Yep, that's probably it," but clearly, like, she's lying. And it's like, do you or actually, maybe do you think in any world she thinks Master Soul had something to do with it? And there's a sinister reason why he's alive and nobody else is.
What are you implying?
Like, do you think that she trusts Soul? Do you think that she thinks Soul could
I
have something to
think
do with this?
I genuinely think something went down that night in Witch Island. I can't remember what the planet's called, but yeah, it's fine. Witch Island's what we're gonna go with.
Okay. Brandock.
Because Brandock, yep. She seems to trust him, but also like she didn't want to send him on this mission. She's like, "You're too close with Ocean." Like I don't know, she's very like sus of him, basically, like, a little suspicious of Soul. And so I don't think she thinks that he like murdered all his friends, but I think it appears, at least to me, as she's walking through the battlefield, she's hearing the screams and kind of seeing things. I think she might have that ability that Cal Kestis and
I know what you're talking about. I don't
what is it
remember the
called?
name of it, but it's like,
It's where you can touch and see the scene that happened. Um,
yeah, I don't know. It's
just
not telekinesis, but it's something like that.
hold on 1 second, please. Just play some. It's called psychometry. I'm gonna back up here
Psychometry.
so Matthew can cut this easily. I really think that she has psychometry because you can see as she's walking through like the area where they were all killed. She can hear them. She can kind of feel it out. So like, I think she knows Saul didn't do it, but maybe she sees that he came close to like the dark side. She can sense how like close he was and how like kind of he almost snapped. And so she's unsure of his state. And like, maybe this happened before on which island. And like, she's like, this is now a pattern. Like I've seen this before when he's involved with Osha, and maybe like while training Osha this came up. Like I don't know. Like, maybe like it's kind of like a Mace Windu trusts Anakin as far as you can throw him kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like she trusts him just because he's a Jedi Master, but there's reason for her to not trust him.
Yeah, it's like technically I have to trust you, but she's very sussy baka, one might say.
Sorry, what was that?
Anyways, I don't know. It would be interesting to see if it was like a reoccurrence for Sol and if he alone is actually responsible for whatever happened on Brendok. Because that would be interesting if it's like Vernestra is following this kind of thread that Osha plus Sol equals bodies. Just casualties out the ass.
I didn't like our squirrely little white boy Jedi friend. He was annoying to me.
You didn't like okay.
What was his name?
I didn't care to think about it or commit it to memory.
Correct.
I mean, I didn't have anything against him, but
well,
yeah.
he was just like, you get nauseous on like Master, you get nauseous in hyperspace.
Thank you for bringing this up. You don't understand what this means. You don't understand, Alex. I have to educate you.
Oh, okay, maybe he's not squirrely then, y'all. Sorry. Allow Erin to educate me.
No. So he said you get sick in hyperspace. She says, I don't get sick. I find it unsettling. So the High Republic, book 1. In it occurs the first scene of the book opens with the first incident of the Great Hyperspace Disaster. Basically, a cargo ship filled with thousands of people is moving through hyperspace. This is when hyperspace was pretty new. You know, it was kind of limited. And a ship comes flying into and across the hyperspace lane, incinerating everyone inside.
So, like running a red light.
Yes, sort of. Except basically you find out that the bad guys of this entire arc, they somehow have information about the hyperspace lanes that they're able to simply blip in and out of space, like out uncontrollably, nobody can track it. And so they're like wreaking all this havoc. And
Kinda like
that's when she became a Jedi Knight. That's when she was 13. Like, so she probably doesn't like being in hyperspace because it was a very dangerous thing.
And traumatizing for her. Interesting.
Yeah, so I heard that, and that's what I thought it was about.
I mean, I totally makes sense, but even if that's the case, can you imagine as a revered Jedi Master, the youngest ever be in the Order, 100 years old plus, and this 25-year-old little shaggy looking ass Jedi Knight says, "Master, you get nauseous." I'd be like, "Shut your ass up and get in line!" Like, come on now, like,
sit down.
And then he gets to the planet. He goes, "Did Master Soul do this?" And she's like, "Bruh, come on now. Like, we're all thinking it, but why would you say it out loud? Like, that's just not what we're doing here."
He seemed kind of like that, like almost plot device or like stand-in for the audience of just like, please explain what is happening here.
Literally,
I don't know what to do.
Literally, though.
So yeah, I could not care less if we see him again or not. No offense to the actor, honestly killed it. I'm sure the character was supposed to come off that way. Anyways, I just want to be clear. Hating on characters is never hating on actors, okay, y'all? That's not cool. But yeah, the light whip, that's something cool. Had you ever seen anything about that before?
Matthew's here.
That light whip was amazing.
He's hopped in for the light whip. Hop Matthew in for the light whip.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry that I've let these people be talking this whole time. Everything they said is wrong, but I'm here to correct everything.
Hey, we said nice things about you, so you're just dissing yourself.
That's perfectly fair. That's perfectly fair. I am back. I will not make you re-go over the conversation. I'm sure that they were fantastic. These people are wonderful, wonderful hosts. Yeah, continue.
But I need you to leave in the part where I yell about I need to see Yoda with long hair.
Okay, I take it back. Erin is a great place. Erin says makes total sense.
Yeah, Matthew, I'm glad you're here. I actually wanted to hear your opinion on this because you've read most of the High Republic books, or at least several of them. I know Phase 1. And the line where our squirrely, scrawny little white boy Jedi is like, Master, you get sick in hyperspace. And Vernestra said, I don't get nauseous. I find it unsettling. What did you think about that? Did that strike you in any way?
Yeah, it hit me because, first of all, yes, he's an utter dork of a Jedi.
Thank you.
And it felt like there was a little bit of sexism there, and a little like I just kind of loved her line of like, yeah, when I need your opinion, I'll tell you. Go back in your corner, little boy.
Matthew agrees.
Well, I don't know what that's coming from, Alex. I probably don't agree with you, but just for the thing, it definitely does. So actually, I just put out a recording with Danielle of Written in the Star Wars, specifically about the most recent book in the High Republic series, in which Vernestra is a big character. Vernestra is quite seriously going through it in really hard ways, and I don't remember if that line is a specific callback to something from one of the earlier books, but certainly the events that she's gone through, where every time you go into hyperspace, there's a chance that you just might die because your ship might just blow up because hyperspace is being attacked. Hyperspace itself is being attacked. Makes the idea that 100 years later, because her race is very long-lived, she would still have great problems and find hyperspace unsettling, and that some idiot white boy would somehow think that means that she gets physically sick because he's an idiot. All that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had just said. I was educating Alex on what that line meant and kind of the great hyperspace disaster. I just loved that little. I loved the Easter egg. I loved being like, yes, I caught something, even though I haven't read all the books.
Yeah, I just thought he was annoying. But back to your original point when Matthew came flying in, I knew that the light whip existed only in that I saw it in the trailer. I had never read about it like I'm sure y'all have in the books. But it was, even if it was on screen for like a half second, that thing is sick. And I'm really upset that I did not see Pong Krell whipping 4 lightsaber whips as he was attacking clones in the show. Like, I want to see this in use more.
4 arms with 4 whips? That'd be way too much for my middle school heart to handle. But they are a very sick weapon. I always wonder, like, why do the Jedi give up cool weapons like that, you know? Like,
well, how do you duel with it?
You get good at using it?
I think, well, and one thing that the books make clear is that it is a traditional lightsaber, and that there's a button she can press that causes it to kind of like there's some JRPG I played. I think it was one of the Fire Emblem games where there's like a sword that's made out of like detachable pieces of metal, and so it can be turned into a whip. And I think it's supposed to be that kind of idea. Like, it can be a straight up sword, but because really, I mean, it's a beam of light. You know, it's not like a hard metal thing.
Right.
And plus, these are space wizards. They can do whatever the hell they want. Like, if you're trying to apply the laws of physics to space wizards, go watch something else. So I think it can be both a light whip and a sword.
I mean, in Rebels, they adjust the lightsaber blade height with a little dial. I mean, I think that, but back to Aaron's point, like, why get rid of it? Like, I think, like, by the time of the Empire and stuff, like, its knowledge is so scrounged that, like, normal lightsabers make sense. But, like, in the prequel era, I want to see some crazy lightsaber weapons.
Well, and I think one thing we just have to accept as fans, and Star Trek fans certainly have gone through this, is that when you tell prequels about the future, like in Star Trek, the original series is set in, whatever time it is, and it was filmed in 1968 with a fairly low budget.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, there have been shows that take place at the same time or even earlier than the original series, Strange New Worlds being one of the best of them, where our modern day technology for filming and our budget for filming is greatly advanced over what was possible in the late 60s.
Right.
And so you just have to accept, like, why did Captain Kirk not have the technology that Captain Pike does? Well, because the people filming it did,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's like why all the Star Trek computers are monochrome in early Star Trek. So yeah, I'm fine with the idea of we now have the technology to make laser whips look awesome. And we do. And all I would just add is, I don't know if you already covered this, and so apologies. To me, the laser whip was such a good scene, because A, the laser whip itself was awesome. The way she did it without like a second thought, just like pure instinct, without like even missing a beat, her speech was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But also think about Saul and Osha were both deeply troubled that they had come to this planet and interfered with these life forms and wound up having to kill them. Not Venestra.
Mm-hmm.
She has no ethical problems with what happened there. She's like, well, gotta kill him.
That's so true. Yeah, she's almost cold, like a little calculated, but it's one of those things where it seems from like age and experience. It doesn't seem like heartless or angry or like malicious, but it's just like almost like a numbness to like these bigger things going on. And she's just so calculated and so focused on like a goal and keeping this shit under wraps.
I mean, remember that a key tenet of the Jedi Code is there is no emotion, there is only peace. Saul feels all the emotions in the world, as do some of the other Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Venestra doesn't. And I think like we in the audience, and I think we're meant to, can spend a lot of time thinking, is Saul a better person and a better leader because of this? And does it hurt him in some ways? All of which I think are good questions.
That's funny.
I think by the Jedi Code, Venestra is a much better Jedi because she doesn't feel like she might feel an intellectual sadness that has happened and might in the future want to take steps to avoid being attacked by these creatures and thus having to kill them. But I don't think she has grief in the emotional way.
That's very funny that you say it that way, Matthew, because we had talked earlier before you got here about like, do we think Soul force with the dark side? And I think we both kind of said yes. That like, I mean, I think it's pretty blatant that he does in multiple moments. And we also talked about like, does is it Venestra? Is that how you say it?
Vern Nestra.
Vernestra.
Her nickname is Vern.
I'm just gonna call her Vern. Does Vern trust him? And like, I don't know. Like, I would kind of, my take on it was more along the lines of how Mace trusted Anakin. Like, you trust about as far as you can throw him. Like, he's a Jedi Master. You've been with him for a while, but like, you have some personal misgivings, possibly based on what he did that night on which island? Which the planet I can never remember.
Brendock.
So I'm going to give the short answer and say that I think the long answer would actually be a great bonus content discussion for us to have, because I don't want this episode to go on too much longer. It's been almost 45 minutes now. Oh, coming up on an hour. But in very short summary, I think that the path to the dark side is paved with good intentions. And this is a big part of what Yoda teaches, especially in the original movies, but also somewhat in the prequels, is that this idea of, let's say you're fighting the worst, most evil enemy in the world, and you hate them, and you want to kill them because they have done terrible, awful things. Are you on the dark side yet? No. Have you started down that path that may now dominate your destiny, as Yoda says? Yes. Because I think once you hate something truly evil and fight from a perspective of hate, it becomes easier to hate the next thing that might not be quite so evil.
Yeah.
And then the next thing. And then till the point where you think anything that stands in your way. You know? And I think that's the essence of the dark side, is that it is seductive. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys had to say about it before, but I think part of what I like so much about Darth Back Muscles is that he is, to me, I think about how Vader and the Emperor and the Inquisitors approached it. They were like, hey, you should join the dark side. You know you're going to. They're like the guy who's just like, hey, beautiful, I'm going to buy you a drink right now. Like, they have no riz. They have no game. Darth Biceps has game. You know, he is like slowly planting these ideas, and he's listening to her. One of the most important parts of any kind of convincing someone is you spend more time listening to them than you do talking at them. You know, she makes a joke about, like, did you give May the same pitch? And I think that, you know, I think he kind of laughs it off, because that's the whole point. He does, like, whereas the Emperor gives Anakin and Luke pretty much word for word the same exact pitch, and that's why it doesn't work.
And I mean, like, to be fair, Darth Back Muscles uses and we talked about this, uses a similar tactic of, you have my weapon, kill me, like, do it. Like, he doesn't say, like, do it and complete your destiny to the dark side, but he's like, do it, like, kill me. Maybe Sith just are. I don't think he was ready to die. Aaron and I both do not believe he was like he was prepared to, like, prevent his own death. But it is a very classic, like, dark side tactic of, like, I dare you to kill me, like, do it, like, give in to your anger.
Yeah. But everything else about their conversation was so different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have some quotes, if I may go ahead, of a conversation between the two of them. And we already talked about the start of the conversation a little bit. You know, Osha says, you murdered my friends. He goes back, I killed Jedi. I killed those who threatened my existence. She tries to break him down by being specific. You killed Yord, a man who didn't hesitate to turn you in for a crime you didn't commit. You killed Jecki. And where do you think that was going to go? You would have had the same relationship with her that you have with your master. One-sided. Why do you love those who can only go so far? Who can't go as deep as you? And that's when she says, I'm not my sister and I'm not that easily corrupted.
Yeah.
But it's just like, because he got her. He got her, you know? Like, that's exactly it. Like, okay. The relationship with Saul, I don't believe, is one-sided in any way, shape, or form. But with Yord, even with Jecki, I think it is more one-sided. And so, like, just pulling on these slight threads of truth within her loss and her desire, because that's what stuck out to me. When he's listening to her, kind of the aspects of the dark side, he says, I have it exactly. He says, anger, fear, loss, desire, which is different from what we're used to. And I think makes all the world of a difference as to why he is such a good Sith, or such a good bad guy, and why his pitch actually makes sense and actually is so seductive. Because it's not just like, oh, anger, rage, dark side, power. It's like, you have this loss and you have this desire to be loved. You just want to be accepted. And the only people who have ever been like your family still don't love you in that way. And how does that feel?
It's very gaslighty, manipulative, but very seducing in the way he says it.
Right. Well, because it's much more based on what they know you want, you know? And, like, even the Emperor does that somewhat with Anakin, but, like, the Emperor never finds out what Luke wants. And I think that's part of why he fails, because it's just so repeated. Whereas here, like, well, you may have already touched on this, in which case I apologize, and I'll cut it out. But you talked about her desire for these other things. I think that's true. But I felt that the use of the word desire in that moment was very intentional. That when we talk about him seducing her to the dark side, we are using that word far more literally than it has been meant before.
Told you, Aaron. I called him attractive earlier, and she was like, "What?" I'm like, This man walked out of the water naked. Like, he was seducing her in a way.
I think I misunderstood what you were saying earlier because I was not following. But yeah, my guy is literally like giving her a show for free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he is seducing her. And I think that you're right, Matthew. I also think that, like, we talked a little bit about how, like, he's not, like, Palpatine was very power driven, and this guy is much more like, I want freedom. I want the power of two. Like, he, like, wants that rule of two idea, which makes me think that, like, he may have been a Sith apprentice to a Darth Bane line of Sith and then broke away or escaped, and now, like, doesn't want an apprentice, wants an acolyte, like, wants his own kind of version of the dark side almost. Aaron postured, I guess, that maybe he is not like a typical human or like is really, really old. Because like based on things he said, it's possible that he like was in the Jedi Order, fell, could have served under like an official Sith, broke away from that. Like this guy could be like centuries old at this point.
Yeah, just because it's not as explored in canon, but especially in the extended universe, which we're just seeing used more and more on screen. A Sith or a dark side user using their power and their anger and their hate and their loss to sustain themselves for much longer than their natural lifespan, it's definitely a thing.
Right.
And so just based on how he was talking, it got me curious. I'm like, do you think they're going to bring this into live action?
Yeah. Well, especially because we know in Disney canon, both in the prequel movies and in some of the later books, the idea of not only that do the Sith have that power in general, but that the Sith have been experimenting with that power more and more and more to the idea of extending their life entirely and creating new life and, you know, bringing people back from the dead. All that kind of research and stuff is connected. And yeah, I think all that's really possible. Any other last big questions you guys disagreed on or had something like that I can jump into?
I just have one question to finish.
Go for it.
What do we think Saul is going to do to May? What do you think he's going to say to her?
I think we're getting the flashback next episode.
Yeah, but that doesn't answer my question. What happens episode after that?
I mean, what do you? I don't, Matthew. Just to give you a quick. When we talked earlier, we both agreed that he sounded very angry and not remorseful at all. So I don't think an apology is coming. I think it's like maybe he's twisted his own memory to truly believing that May was at fault. Like, I think he's going to recount a different version of what happened that night than when he told Osha. But in the end, he's still going to blame May.
Because there's something he's holding against her. He said, I've been thinking about this for 16 years, what I would say if I ever saw you again. It's like, what the hell could he be so mad about?
At a child, no less.
Okay. This is interesting because I saw that completely differently.
Oh.
I saw that 100% as him speaking out of it, not of anger, but his guilt.
Oh, I thought it was anger.
Like that he knows he really did her wrong. And part of what I got that from is though he said it, also part of, first of all, I assume we talked about this, but the little creature figuring out that it was May.
Basil.
I do think it's very significant that the stranger immediately knew it was Osha, not May.
Yeah.
Like he saw the twin switch in a way that Saul didn't. And I think that says a lot. But like even when Saul, you know, Basil told him and he stuns her, he just looks so broken. He looks so resigned and so sad that he had to do this. And not to start old debates, but I think one of my frustrations with episodic television is when they hint that they're going to tell you something and then don't do it that episode. And the first time I watched this episode, I didn't really like it, in part because I was so frustrated that we didn't have that conversation yet. The second time when I knew that we were going to get it, I wasn't expecting it, I was able to enjoy it a lot more. And I'm trying, like I hear your theories on the Sith and stuff like that, and I've engaged in them before, but I think at this point I'm just going to like not have anything to do with it and just wait and see what the story tells us. And I wish the story would hurry up and tell us. Because yeah, I think Saul bringing May back into the light, and Danielle, written in the Star Wars, made a great TikTok about how there's a cycle of, on Bendoc, there was the cycle of the two moons, and that their ascension ceremony was going to be, because the two moons go in opposite orbits, and it was when they kind of crossed each other. And in the same way, Osha and May have crossed each other and are now going in opposite directions from what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is very likely that we wind up with May as a Jedi apprentice and Osha as an acolyte, or one of them is dead, but they're both were looking in that direction.
I think Osha turning is very, very real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The last thing we didn't mention, I want to mention, it's not super deep, but just a quick moment to the little new creatures we got to see, the little guys that looked
Snail
like
elephants.
yeah, they looked like baby. I'm not saying it's the same planet at all, but the parallels between what this island looked like and Octo from The Last Jedi, and these guys looked like super baby miniature versions of those sirens that Luke gets his blue milk from on that planet. Is very funny to me, like very just parallel visually. Those guys were real cute.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw the parallel between this unknown planet and Octo, but I think that was meant to make us think of that scene. I very much don't think.
No, I agree. It's not, I don't think it's the same planet either. But it was just fun to see the parallels and in The Last Jedi, like Rey learns about the other side of the Force more than she ever knew before, and so Osha's doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, that's very true. All right. Well, thank you both so much for taking this on. I was called away by a family thing. I'm glad I got to join at the end, but I'm sure that these two did a fantastic job already. Did you guys do a pitch for membership?
Not yet.
Okay. Members get bonus content. We just did an episode all about the newest book in the High Republic series, where if you've read it, you're going to love it. If you haven't read it, we explain everything. Like if you don't want to be spoiled, go read the book, then listen. But if you just don't want to read the book, but you want to know the story, we got you. We talk about a lot how it relates to the Acolyte and things like that. Membership is $5 a month, $55 a year for a discount. You get bonus episodes, you get bonus content at the end of most of the episodes, and of course you get to help support us. We're already updating our technical equipment. We're going to keep doing that a little bit more. Anyone watching the video can now see that the Sith Riz Master, as opposed to the Rizless Sith, try saying that 5 times fast, but Erin, the Sith Riz Master, now has a fluffy pink cover on her microphone, which will help to cut down with some of the mic noises that she had. I'm updating audio. We're going to get Alex some new stuff, but membership makes that all possible. So please think about becoming a member. Please let us know what you think. We love your feedback. We'll be doing a feedback episode pretty soon, and also kind of sprinkling it into ongoing episodes. Members, stick around because we're going to talk more about the dark side. For everyone else, we have spoken.
Stay classy, Octo.
Keep it messy, unknown planet.
Semantics.
Mine was so
Such
good.
a good line.